Welcome to Montara. We're about 350 metres above sea level here, so we attract the cooler nights. And just for a geographical representation, over there is Mount Leigh Clarnette, otherwise known as the Pregnant Lady in Aboriginal culture, and a further 200 kilometres to our east is Melbourne. Montara was started in 1970, and during that time it has evolved to about 19 hectares. What I'm going to show you later on today is we're going to visit those sheds down the bottom there where the winery is, and then we'll walk around the vineyards and have a look at some Riesling, some Shiraz and Cabernet and Pinot Noir and seeing what they're doing at this time of the year, early to mid-January. So I'm just going to walk down the hill with my best mate, Max, and we'll have a look at some Pinot Noir, hey? We're in our 1972 Riesling vineyard here, and we're just at a point in the vine's growth where we've had fruit set back in December, and we're now waiting for veraison to happen, which will be probably early February at this stage. And when that happens, we should see the berries start to double in size, and then they'll soften. At the moment they're quite hard and they'll be very sour. And in this phase they're actually growing more acid than they are growing more sugar. And harvest should be probably late March, sometime early April. Can't predict it, all depends on the weather and how much heat and if there is any rain during the season. Well, this will go into our Montara Grampians Riesling and should be absolutely delectable. In this old block here, planted in 72, there are two Pinot Noir vines here, and that is an historical fact. In vineyards all over the world we have two sets of clones or multiple sets of clones. These vines came from an old source block here in the area, in Great Western, and they came from, which were planted in 1868, and they actually came from a source block that was planted in 1812 in the Hunter by a bloke named Busby. The Hunter Valley is up near Newcastle, just north of Sydney. This particular variety clone here is a hairy leaf underneath and a dark green, and that's called Pinot Meunier or Pinot Meunier. And this one here is Pinot Noir. Has a flatter leaf with one sinus on it, and is light green, more emerald. They both produce similar sort of wine, but that's just a fact of nature. That's what we have here. And what you get with Pinot Noir, very different to the Shiraz and Cabernet. It's a small, tight, compact bunch, a bit like Sauvignon Blanc. It's very low yielding naturally, and sometimes if flowering is wet or windy, you can get different sized berries within the bunch. This will be veraising probably in the next 2 weeks, probably around Australia Day, around the 26th of January, and we'll start to see a huge change in colour start to happen. And again, by the end of February, early March, it'll be ready to be picked. We're here with the Cabernet Sauvignon. This is a new block that has been replanted to where the Cabernet used to be grown on the property. The Cabernet is similar to Shiraz, has a long conical bunch without any shoulders or wings, and that is a superb bunch, but it varies depending on the flowering conditions. And when this flowered back in December, it was wet, it was overcast, and parts of this whole block are very light. Cabernet bunches are very light, but I think this is the king of grapes. It produces the best colour, the best tannin, and the finesse of a Cabernet. There's nothing like it. This will come in just prior to Easter this year, probably 18th or 15th of April, All depends on whether we get a big rain. But you can see here, it's a very open bunch and it just delivers a beautiful variety. We're now in our old Shiraz, which is planted in 1972. And these vines have huge capacity for delivering quality. And what I'm showing you now is one of the typical bunches that Shiraz produces. Long and cylindrical, open, with a couple of wings on either side. Now these vines probably won't ripen or be harvested until mid to late March, probably depending on the season. At the moment we're just giving them a slight amount of water. You can hear the dripping on the ground, and we're just trying to ensure the vines don't lose leaves with the heat that's coming in the next few days. We'll have veraison probably in early February. That means the berries will then start to soften and then start to produce a lot more sugar than the acid they're already producing. When we see veraison happen, we'll start to see not every berry change at once, but they will change, and it will be within three weeks of harvest that they all start to take on a beautiful dark bluish hue, and then the flavour really starts to pour in. What I'm going to show you here is the 2013 Challenber Road Shiraz. This is just off the Shiraz vines we were just talking about, or talking in, and 2013 has produced a vintage like 2008. Lovely, rich, opulent fruit, beautiful colours and great length of character on the palate. This wine has been aged since March in this barrel, and it's just starting to soften beautifully now. I'll just take a sample out through this Valenche, and you can see the colour there, how beautiful magenta it is. Blueberries, it's just gorgeous. First one for the day. Anyway, Challenber Road Shiraz, looking good. Cheers.